Okay, so basic probability. So probability, yes. Probability is just finding the chance of something happening. That's all it is. Measures the chance of something happening. So let's write that in. Okay, it can be written as a percent or a ratio, which is basically a fraction. Okay, so if we talk about sports, sports uses probability all the time. Okay, when you see a batter coming up and they say his batting average is like 320, okay, that's actually a percentage. Okay, that means 32% of the time he's going to get a hit. Okay, when you talk about football, they always give odds for so-and-so winning what game. So they would say like the Patriots are going to win at a rate of 5-3. Okay, that would be a ratio or a fraction, 5/3. Okay, so those are how you would talk about probability. Okay, to write probability, on the bottom is the number of possible outcomes. Okay, that's what goes on the bottom, the number of possible outcomes. If I flip a coin, how many possible outcomes are there? 2. If I roll a dice, how many possible outcomes are there? 6. On top is what I want. Okay, it's what do I want to get. So it's the number of favorable outcomes. What I want. So if I said, what's the probability of me flipping a coin and getting heads? My favorable outcome would be heads. And there's one chance I'm going to get a heads versus 2 chances, 1/2. Okay, or if I'm rolling a dice and I want to get a 3, how many possible 3s are there on a dice? 1, so it'd be 1 out of 6. Okay, it's the number of favorable outcomes.
So like 1 out of every 5 adults.
Yes. Okay. Okay, sample space is all the possible outcomes. Okay, an example. The sample space of flipping a coin is heads and tails. Okay, so the sample space lists the possible outcomes. Okay, an impossible event has a probability of 0% or 0. So if I said, what's the probability of me choosing somebody in this room who's 28 years old? That's an impossible event because nobody in this room is 28 years old. Okay? A certain event has a probability of what? If it's going to happen always, has a probability of 100% then, or 1. Okay. For today, we're going to write our probabilities as percentages. So our first one is a player hits the bullseye on a dartboard 50 times. Sorry, 8 times out of 50 trials. So I'm throwing the dart 50 times, and 8 of those times I get a bullseye. Find the experimental probability that the player hits the bullseye. So how many possible outcomes do I have? There's 50 times I tried to do it. How many times did I actually do it? 8. So this is our fraction. We always start with the fraction. Okay, then we're going to plug it into our calculator. Okay, and that's 0.16. So let's review how to change a decimal into a percent. You move your decimal over twice and get 16%. This I didn't need to round, so it's an exact amount. Any questions over that? Okay, the next one. A class tossed coins and recorded 165 heads and 175 tails. What is the experimental probability of heads or tails? Let's do heads over here, tails over here. Okay, let's talk about how many times did I flip my coin? 340. I have to add the number of heads plus the number of tails to get my number of trials. Okay, I kind of need to use that in my fraction. So if I'm talking about what's the probability of getting, flipping a coin and getting the heads out of 340, 165 times was my favorable outcome. So I divide 165 divided by 340. And I have to round this. So it's 0.485. Does the 5 make the 8 move up? Yes. So it's move my decimal twice, and it will be 49%. Any questions over that? What should tails be then? 51, right? Okay, so tails is, again, 340. We're going to get tails 175 times. I would think that my probability should be 51%. Because together, those are my only options are heads or tails. So I should get 100% at the end. Oh, good. I have 0.514. Does the 4 make the 1 move up?
Nope.
Nope. Move my decimal over twice, and I get 51%. Any questions over that? It wants us to list the sample space for rolling a 6-sided number cube, also known as a dice. So my sample space would I could roll a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. Okay, so the probability of rolling a 1. 1 out of 6. There's only one 1 in the number cube. If I plug that into my calculator, I get 0.166. Does the 6 make the 6 move up? Yes. So I get, move my decimal over twice, 17%. Okay, a number less than 3. Is 3 less than 3? No. Is 2 less than 3? Is 1 less than 3? So I'm going to get 2 out of 6. Which should be 0.333. Does the 3 make the 3 move up? No, so it's 33%. Okay, you guys do the next two. Okay, Steven, what did you get for an odd number, the probability of an odd number? Okay. Which is exactly 50%. Okay, and Josh, what did you get for the probability of a number greater than 6?
0 out of 6, 0%.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're at 0% for that, because there's not a number that's greater than 6. Any questions? Pretty easy so far, right? Okay, still easy here. Okay, a bag contains 8 blue marbles, 5 red marbles, 2 orange marbles. What is the probability for 1 draw? Okay, so let's, how many marbles? We're gonna do 8 plus 5 plus 2, which gives me 15, okay? That's the hardest part of this. So the probability of me choosing a red one. How many red marbles are there? 5. So again, that's going to be 0.333. So I move my decimal over twice and get 33%. Okay, probability of 1 blue. What is that? What would my fraction be? Okay. 8 out of 15. That gives me 0.533. I move my decimal over. The 3 does not make the 3 move up, so it's just 53%. Okay, and what's the probability of orange? How would my fraction be? 2 out of 15. Is 0.133. The 3 does not make the 3 move up, so it's just 13%. Any questions? Okay. This is the hardest part of the homework tonight, is creating the Venn diagram. Okay, I gave you a bunch of information. This is like number 2 in your homework, just so you know. It's like number 2 in your homework, so you're gonna have to draw a Venn diagram for number 2. In a class of 175 students, 115 are taking math, 75 are taking science, and 45 are taking both math and science. Okay, so we need to fill that in. Okay, for math, there's 115 of them, and that's all of this right here. Okay. But math, they're saying there's 115 of them. In this yellow part, I only care about the people taking math. So I have to take away the 45 that are taking both because they go someplace else. So how many are just taking math? 70 of them. Okay, then the next group, 75 are taking science. So that's these people here. Okay, and I only want the people that are just taking science. So that would be 75 minus the 45 that are taking both. So that's just 30 students are taking just science. Now in the middle, these are the people taking both. Those are the 45 students taking both. Now your big problem is you guys are not going to subtract. You're going to forget to subtract when you're putting them in here and here. Okay, and then you're going to end up with too many students. And it's going to be very confusing. Okay. Now, again, another thing you're going to forget about is the box. Okay, the two circles contain people with math, taking both, and science. The people outside of here are the people who aren't taking either one. Okay, so we have to add everyone up. We have 70 plus 45 plus 30. That gives me 145 people. How many students are there though? There's 175. So I have to take that 175 and subtract the 145 to find out that there's 30 people not taking math or science. Any questions over that? If you do not fill in the Venn diagram, it's going to be very difficult to get these problems correct. So you've got to be really good at filling in this diagram. Okay, so we want people taking math or science or both. So I know that there's a total of 100 and thank you. I'm going to plug that in. Okay, so I'm going to take math or science or both. So I'm going to get the total number of people that I have, which was 175. And then I'm going to add up the people taking math. How many people are just taking math? 70. Okay, how many people are just taking science? And then how many are taking both? So we add those all up. So I'm going to get 145 over 175. And that gives me 0.828. Does the 8 make the 2 move up? Mm-hmm. Yes. Move my decimal over twice. And I get 83%. Okay, the next one are the people not taking science. Okay, so 30. 30 is correct, but there's also some more. 70. We have to add in the people that are just taking math. So the 30 So again, there's the 30 people who are not taking math or science, and then there's the 70 people who are just taking math, to get a total of 100 over 175. So that is about 0.75, sorry, 0.57. 1, I move my decimal over twice and I get 57%. Okay, do the probability of the next two, please. Okay, Brandon, what'd you get for your fraction for taking math but not science? Taking not math, you're on this one. Taking math but not science. How many people are not taking science but they're taking math? 70. So just 70 out of 175. No, because it's just math but not science. These are the only people taking math and not science. These people aren't taking math or science. So it's 0.4. Okay, I move my decimal over twice and I get 40%. Okay, Danny, what'd you get for the next one?
30 over 175.
So 30 divided by 175 was 0.171. Move the decimal over twice and get 17%. Any questions over that? Pretty easy, right? Okay, so we're gonna work on our 8.1 homework for a little bit.